It's Divas That Care Radio. Stories, strategies, and ideas to inspire positive change. Welcome to Divas That Care, a network of women committed to making our world a better place for everyone. This is a global movement for women, by women, engaged in a collaborative effort to create a better world for future generations. To find out more about the movement, visit divasthatcare.com after the show. Right now, though, stay tuned for another jolt of inspiration.
Well, hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Divas That Care. My name is Candace Gish. If this is your very first time tuning into the Divas That Care, a huge welcome. We've been doing this now for, 15 years. We're listened to in over 30 countries around the world, and we absolutely love what we're doing. We actually started a podcasting series now with the Divas That Care a few months ago because we wanted to be able to really engage our listeners in different topics. So this time we're going to be talking about season of shift, women on the edge of reinvention. So this series podcast is going to be spotlighting women who use this reflective season, which is October to December, to make major life changes, career changes. They're doing ending, spiritual awakening, and brave beginnings. Amy Vaughan, this is her first time being on our podcast, and we just wanted to welcome her to our family. So welcome to the show, Amy.
Thank you so much for having me here, Candace. I'm really excited.
Oh my gosh. You know what? I know that we've taken a while to be able to connect here, but I am so excited to
Made it
finally have the
happen.
opportunity to talk with you. Yes. Amy, would you mind introducing yourself to our listeners?
Absolutely. So my name is Amy Vaughan. I am a mother of two children, 8 and 12, a wife, a daughter, a sister, a friend, a chief empowerment officer of an amazing organization called Together Digital. It's a national network of women who work in digital marketing, advertising, and technology, who chooses to show up authentically every day, whether they're online or in person, and really share their knowledge, power, and connections so that everyone can succeed. And then speaking of shifts and reinvention, I literally just stepped into an opportunity as the managing director of the Marketer Collaborative, which is a former agency space that we are turning into a co-working space that is really dedicated to the just the embodiment of everything that is collaboration and creativity. And so I'm really excited to be stepping into yet another new chapter of my life, adding yet another title to the resume or chapter in my book, however you want to look at it.
I love that. And I can't wait to hear more about that because that is so intriguing. So maybe we should just dive into that part of it. Like, what is this new step? Tell us more about that.
Yeah. So, there's a lot to be said about, we are constantly saying manifest, manifest, put it out into the universe. And for me, I had been running a namely hybrid, mostly virtual women's community and organization online for about 6 years. I think it was actually 6 years this month. That's the longest I've ever been at any job. Within this industry, you kind of move from one thing to the next within 2 to maybe 4 years. So coming into Together Digital and running the organization has been an absolute dream and a nightmare all at the same time. Or some people like to say a brutal experience. It has taught me a lot about me and myself and the world around me and what women need. And, in that time, it was about the beginning of this year, January, which, feels like a minute ago, but here we are, October. And I really started to miss in person. Even though I was running a community organization, running a business can be a very isolating experience. I missed teamwork. I missed being in person and collaborating. I missed having somebody over a wall to talk to. My cats and my dog never really were super interested in what I was designing or writing or creating. And, I had said as much. At the time, having a network and community that believes in you and trusts you is like the best currency for your career, hands down. And for me, it came about because this organization outside of where I am, which is Cincinnati, Ohio, came to me and said, "Hey, we are opening up a co-working space. We want a franchise and we would love to open up something in Cincinnati. Would you be interested in talking with us?" And I thought, you know what, this could be the thing. This meshes so nicely with what I'm doing with Together Digital. And, it's something that I could kind of do in tandem with this work that I'm doing there. And I said, I looked at the franchising model and I thought, those are some steep fees to start. I don't really have that kind of money. I'm a mission-based, members driven organization. I said, if I had a business partner that either had a space or was willing to invest, then maybe. And so they actually ended up introducing me to my now business partner, Jim Price. And he is a former agency owner, sold the agency that was within the building. The agency left and the building was just sitting. And so here I had met somebody from other people out of state, guy in my own hometown, in my own backyard, literally lives like 15 minutes from me. Fun fact, my husband's company works out of the same building that he owns and it is an investor in their company. And
Oh
when
my
we first
gosh.
were introduced, I was like, oh, this guy isn't going to respond. Like, what's he going to be interested in, me in this co-working space for? And he replied right away and was like, Amy, this is so funny. Like, I know your husband. I invest in Verve. They're in this building. I think you've been in the space. He's like, we have to meet. And as I'm sitting here writing you this email, I'm at another co-working space and your picture just came up on the TV screen as I got this email because you're doing a talk here in 2 weeks. He's like, we have to meet. And so, we sat down, we talked about, both kind of agency kids growing up within Cincinnati marketing and advertising industry, just shared a lot of common connections and just really noticed how the industry has gone more fractional, gig, freelance, contract, and there's more small independent agencies, right? We no longer have these big conglomerate agencies that are entire buildings like, his former agency was. And they don't have a home. And so the second time I met him, we walked the space again and I kind of gave him my vision. And Candace, I was such a dork. I literally spent the weekend because it was a quiet weekend, no kids sports, surprisingly. And I threw together like the branding, the
Mm-hmm.
positioning, the vision, the mission, the business model. And I just threw it at him. And I was like, here you go. What do you think? And he kind of like, got a little choked up and he was like, I don't know what to say. He's like, other than how much do you need? And then I fell on the
Oh,
floor and passed
wow.
out. Just kidding. I kind of did, at least in my own head, because I'd never had those words said to me before. Right.
Yeah.
And so we
It was
kind of
meant to
looked,
be.
right. We looked at the model, we looked at the building, we kind of did some feasibility research and really felt like the initial franchise option wasn't for us and decided to kind of go this new marketer collaborative route. So that was the end of May. And here we are. We had our grand opening last week, October 15th. uh,
Congratulations.
Thank you. And, it was just one of those things where it's like the power of, like I said at the beginning, community and your network and really having the right people at the right place and the right time. Make the introductions, speak your name in the rooms that you're not in will absolutely be career and life changing. This is not the first time something like this has happened to me. This is actually my second or third time, I would say. Third time, definitively, I can
Yeah.
say.
You,
And so, yeah, go ahead.
well, I'm just thinking of like, that's why we weren't able to meet. It was meant to be. We had to
Yes.
congratulate you on the
Oh,
Divas That
thanks.
Care. And
Yeah.
what an exciting journey that you're on. Like, and that's exactly what this is all about. And I think this
Yeah.
series, that's what it's about is this and what you're going through. And I'm just in awe of what you're saying because it is the brave beginnings. You've taken something and you are going with it.
Yeah.
And that if that doesn't encourage our listeners today, I don't know what will because I'm
Thanks.
just blown away just listening to you. I'm like, really? Really? I'm like, oh my God.
And I've never done this before. Neither of us have. Neither of us have opened up a co-working space. I mean, I've had a member-based business for the last 6 years that definitely primed me. Loads of transferable skills and experience. A marketer by trade, small business owner for the last 6 years. But yeah, I mean, we are just nobody knows what they're doing. We're all just figuring it out. And I think
Mhm.
just finding the right people that will believe in you and, to be able to earn his trust and really his time, his attention, his money, and his investment was huge. But it really stemmed from the reputation that I've worked hard to build, the trust I've worked hard to build with the people around me.
Yeah. You know what? I will agree with you 100%. You never know where life is going to take you. The journey is one that we can never predict.
No.
And there, you should be have no regrets. Everything
Yeah.
gets us to this point. And it's funny, I had actually did a post on LinkedIn about that earlier
Uh-huh.
today because, I have no regrets. Yeah, there's been a lot of ups and downs in my career, going through so many different things. And I'm like, but it's brought me to this moment. And I don't
Hmm.
regret that. I love the
Yeah.
moment. I love the journey I'm on. I'm at peace. I think as we get older too, that it's like almost that wisdom, and you don't believe in it because I
Yeah.
realize now in my life how much I didn't know.
Hmm.
And if it wasn't for the people that I've met, and even with this podcast and all the other businesses I've been a part of, if
Yeah.
I wouldn't have gone through that, I wouldn't be where I am today. So
Hmm.
just listening to you, I'm like, applaud you and congratulations.
Thanks. Thanks. Yeah. Yeah. I have a good friend of mine, Lucretia. She's like, you have to be a little delusional. You got to be a little delulu to just kind of like think and believe and trust and just try. I mean, that's all you can do. When it came to up with the idea for the Marketer Collaborative, I mean, so what if I presented that to him and he was like, nope, that's not the right thing? So what? Like the next thing will come along. But I was never
Yes,
going to get the yes without asking. So I had to just ask for the no
the
and
courage.
cross my fingers.
I love that you the courage to do it. So tell me a little bit more about this because it's a unique thing, and I love that you feel that way too. I
Mm,
miss the connection. When
yeah.
COVID happened, we all had to isolate ourselves and we couldn't be
Hmm.
around people. It really changed the dynamics of a lot of individuals out there.
Yeah.
Me being one of them, it's like now I crave being by myself, and I was never like
Sure.
that before. And
Hmm.
at the same time, I miss the interactions because I'm like, I miss those coffee dates. I miss getting out there. I
Right.
miss the one-on-one and face-to-face. And I don't like Zooms, to be honest. I
Hmm.
don't like just having a computer screen talk to me.
Right.
I want to be able to, actually visit with somebody. So are you able to incorporate, and that's the question I have right now is, are you able to incorporate the Together Digital with some of the things that you're doing now? Like, is there going to be
Hmm.
some crossover and how does
Yeah.
that work?
Absolutely. I mean, so I'm running both businesses. So we're headquartered here now. Essentially, we are a part of the ecosystem. Um, we are hosting events here for our local Cincinnati chapter as well. Our national conference will be right across the street. And we'll probably be hosting some events the day before and day after in the space as well. A lot of my members will likely and hopefully become members here at the Marketer Collaborative. And, I totally hear you, Candace. I think what I've noticed getting that 30,000 foot view that I've been able to have running a networking organization over the last 5, 6 years is that we are really starved for connection. There's like this whole research study that the Surgeon General did that talks a lot about this and how perceived isolation, which is not even like actual isolation like we were doing during COVID, just perceived, which is essentially when we feel alone in a crowded room, which we've all been there. Perceived isolation can shorten your life by up to 15 years and can be the same thing as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Do you remember how we used to say
Oh,
sitting was the
wow.
new smoking?
Yep.
Now, perceived isolation is the new smoking. And it's
That's
really stemming
terrifying.
it is. And it is stemming from the lack of quality connection, right? Our families are going more and more nuclear. We have, at least stateside, I will say, I will speak for like the Western half of the world, is it's very much self over everything else. It's very highly individualistic. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but at the end of the day, we are hardwired to be in community, to be needed, to be in service of others, to feel seen and heard. And you can't undo that. It is literally encoded in our DNA and how we survive.
Hmm.
And so it's hard to get away from. So, what I have seen and what's beautiful about Together Digital is that some of my best friends don't live in the United States anymore. They are women who have joined our organization and become members. Like, for example, the woman who got me on this podcast with you, Molly Rowland, and her amazing team at Heartcast Media. She is in Costa Rica. Her team is global. We have partnered on business together. We have started another podcast together. She produces our podcast. And then in September, I went down and stayed with her for a whole week in Costa Rica. Like I've met her in person twice, but I
Oh, I
literally
love
talk to her
that.
every week. And she is one of my nearest and dearest friends and an amazing human. So shout out, Molly. I love you if you're listening. But like, there's so much power in the ability to connect. But what I'm seeing is that we need to make it more intentional. I think since COVID, we've all had this full circle of like everybody's like, whether you're past midlife or not, we've gone through a bit of a midlife crisis because part of midlife crisis is you're like, I'm halfway there. This could be like, how much life do I have left and how am I going to live it well? COVID put all of us in jeopardy with our health
Yes.
and our wellness. And, we were seeing people die like young, old, it didn't matter. It hit all of us. And I think that has really changed the ways in which we show up, where we show up, when we show up, and why we show up. And so I'm even seeing this within the events arena where, we used to usually pull like 120 people for an event, a happy hour, whatever. Now people are being so much more deliberate about not just how they're showing up online, but how they're showing up in person and where and when and how they're spending their time. And that's why I love the idea of the Marketer Collaborative and the space we're creating, because Jim and his family, when they built this building, it was so intentional. I know we're on a call and on a podcast, so you can't see the space, but everybody that walks into the space gets the vibe. They understand the purpose of the space. It was all very designed intentionally for creativity, for collaboration. And to me, like, that is the stage. It's set. And really now it's just a matter of bringing the people. And I think this goes for anything when you're kind of trying to create a space for others. Another great book and read out there. I'm probably going to end up recommending more books, but The Art of Gathering is an amazing book that talks a lot
Yes.
about that intentionality and how we create space and how we show up to foster connection. So some things we've done with Together Digital even is we've limited our national conference tickets. I want it to be a small conference. I want the women that come into the space to get the chance to meet each other, talk to each other, be together, feel seen and heard and a part of the day. They're not getting spoken at, they're being spoken with. And it's just really changed the way I see a lot of ways in which we move in the world between networking and events. And now this co-working, even before the pandemic, we all did not want to have to go into the office every day. Now that we're getting that urge to go back and or companies are saying you have to go back, all I can think is like, why don't we create a space where people actually want to come and show up every day?
Yes.
So that's what we're doing here.
Oh, I love that. And you were mentioning that it's a franchise. So tell me about that. Like, that's a really interesting thing. Like, I love the
Mm,
intention of how this all came together. But who
yeah.
came up with the idea and how did you really get involved?
So it's not actually, we ended up going the opposite direction of the franchise. So I was
Okay.
initially introduced to Jim as a possible partner to pursue the franchise. And then when we met and we looked at the space, I was like, no, 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 no. Their audience wasn't really right for the space. It's a very large building, 39,000 square feet. And
Okay.
it was designed and built, for people who are in like kind of more the innovation and creative and agency and marketing space. Although it's definitely for all professionals. But that was kind of what came about through that introduction from this other co-working franchise was, why don't we take this agency that now is sitting empty and kind of a ghost town and give it new life, new purpose by creating a home and a space for people who are fractional
Oh, I
or
love
working
it.
within the gig economy or independent agencies. So we already have a couple small independent agencies that are tenants in the space right now that are under 25 people. And
Okay. See, that
and
makes sense to me. That is even better than what I was envisioning.
yeah. Yeah. It's like I said, it's to me, it's an answer to a new need in the way in which we are now working, which is remote, hybrid, and gig. It's everything's so volatile right now. We are in the city of PNG. We are Cincinnati. We live and breathe PNG and have for decades. However, they've had, over 2,000 jobs laid off in like the manufacturing and plant space. And then they're going to do another 7,000 over the next year or two within the branding and marketing space. So our industry between AI and the economy, we're seeing some major shifts. And as somebody who's gone off and, now works for herself, I think entrepreneurship and small business ownership, it's going to hit, like, it's already, the numbers are starting to peak and people going fractional and gig within this industry, especially. I think we were sitting at 40% at the end of last year. We're due to go upwards up to 60% of our industry is going to be freelance contract or fractional
Yeah,
by
I
the end
can
of this
definitely
year.
see that.
So yeah.
Wow.
And they need a home. They need a space. Like,
They
why
do.
sitting at home, creativity does not work in a vacuum.
No.
Strategy does not work in a vacuum. The best ideas don't come from you sitting alone, staring at your wall in your basement. You need to be like your surroundings matter. And I think that was like a big thing that I noticed when I came into this space. It was just so well done. I was like, I would be devastated to watch this place get mutilated into like tiny offices or something that just didn't serve what it was built and designed for. They literally called the building the Marketer, and then I just threw on the collaborative.
That is brilliant. I love it.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, Amy, you're absolutely fantastic. I love that. And I know that a lot of our listeners may not necessarily be in your area because we
Sure.
are a global thing. So I want you to encourage the other women out there globally
Mhm.
to help them maybe come up with an idea or maybe they could connect with you. How can they
Sure.
do this in their area?
Mhm. Yeah, I mean, speaking of franchise, I've talked to so many Together Digital members about this idea, and some of them are excited. They actually have one coming from Cleveland. Oh my gosh, she's coming tomorrow. Yay. Tomorrow to visit and hang out because she's in town and she's like, I'm going to come by because I'm already in town. Um, the marketercollab.com is the website. Togetherindigital.com is the Together Digital website. That's such a phenomenal community. It's kind of like all the vibes of what the marketer will be, but virtual. So it's that much more accessible for wherever you are. If people want to connect with me, they can connect with me on LinkedIn. And yeah, maybe someday we'll franchise the Marketer Collaborative. Who knows? Like all of my members that I've talked to about it within Together Digital, like when is it coming to Cleveland? When is it coming to Detroit? So maybe someday. I mean, we've got a lot of agencies that are, shuttering up and or downsizing, and then you've got these big, beautiful spaces and nobody in it to kind of give them that sense of purpose.
Yes,
So yeah,
exactly.
I mean, to me, it's you just kind of have to go for it. Like I said, you got to be a little delusional. If you have that gut feeling, especially you women that are listening, we downplay intuition far too much, but it is our biggest superpower as women. We can read the room better. We are always thinking 5 steps ahead of everyone else, but we can also be present and in the moment. And I think all of those are really ways in which you can hone in and find the right opportunities. I think we keep thinking that opportunities they find us, but you really find them through action, through trusting that gut, through just trying things, and I've definitely gone down different rabbit holes and chased other things, and sometimes it doesn't work. And for me, it's not a failure. I didn't lose. I learned something, that maybe now wasn't the time for this thing, or the next time I try this, I need to know this instead. So a lot of it is just really making the effort because nothing happens if you do nothing, right? It seems so basic, but it's the God's honest truth. Oh, I have a book. I'm going to write it. Are you putting time on your calendar to write it? Are you researching editors? Have you considered publishing? Are you talking to other
Mhm.
people about the book that you want to write? Because if you're not talking about it, if you're not putting it on your calendar, it's never going to happen. And so you really just have to kind of make those, and it's not anything huge. It's not just one day I'm going to wake up and be like, I'm writing my book. I am working on a book too, by the way. And it is paused for the moment because of all this fun. But it's been a process, and it's been me taking intentional time, you know, out of my days or nights or whatever I need to do that, you know? And it's not always easy, but if it's the right thing, it doesn't come hard. That's how you know it's the right thing. It actually comes easy.
Oh my gosh, Amy, this has been so much fun. And the way that you're talking about it, I had a mentor of mine years ago, gosh, probably over 20 years ago, said,
Yeah.
just break your day down into 15-minute increments. That's all you
Hmm.
need to do. If you want
Great
to do something in
advice.
there, put it for 15 minutes and just
Hmm.
focus on that. And then you can work your way through everything else. And, I've always focused on doing that because I was always so inspired by her because she was one of
Yeah.
the most amazing women I've ever known, really got me into entrepreneurship.
Love
But,
it.
and I love that I'm able just to hear your advice because that's what the women need. They need to
Mm,
hear women like you and inspired by you. Like that's what I think that you've done today is you've really inspired myself, but
thanks.
then our listeners in the season of shift, because I really see that you have done that. And I just one well, last minute thing. You did mention your social media, and
Mhm.
I want to post that on our social media just so that make sure that our listeners go and check that out. I think that's really important. But do you have any last minute tips or tools for our listeners today?
Yeah, I love what you emphasize there. Time management. If you don't respect your time and your calendar, nobody else will. Protect it fiercely. I don't care if you're working for yourself, for somebody else. I am definitely juggling between 2 kids, a husband, a mom that I'm caretaking for, literally leaving right after this to go to her house, get her stuff, and then take it to her rehab house where she is because she broke her femur last week. It's a lot. And I do it by creating time and space for myself to do the things that I know that I love and want to do and accomplish. And I don't do it alone. I have a lot of great support. Shout out to my in-laws for doing a lot of childcare in this shift in this season in our new lives. Shout out to all of my Together Digital members, our volunteers who show up. And don't be afraid to ask for help. When you feel overwhelmed, you don't have to do it all, and you don't have to do it all alone. People really do want to help you. If they know you, they love you, they hear your idea, you have to share it. You have to make time for it. And then you have to ask for the help and then be willing to receive it. I would say that those are kind of like the most key things to take away for anybody that's looking to make any kind of shift.
Is perfect advice. Thank you so much, Amy.
My pleasure.
Well, I hope that you come back on the Divas That Care. We really enjoyed having you
love
today. And I know that with a lot of our next podcast series, I think that you would fit in perfectly for them. So I'm just kind of throwing it out there.
Sure.
I would love to have you back.
Anytime, Candace. I love this. Yeah, I love the mission and who you're trying to reach. I love that it's a global audience as well. That's super exciting. So yeah, anytime you want me back. Yeah, there's more to the story. I got 2 other big shifts that we never even got to. So, but I'm so thrilled that you were willing to have me on and let me share this, because yeah, super excited about it, as you can tell.
Oh, thank you so much. This was wonderful. And I want to do a shout out to all of our amazing listeners. Thank you so much for being with us, a lot of you, for the last 15 years. We appreciate all your support, all your amazing emails that you send us. Thank you so much. You've definitely kept us going all these years. Our hosts and our podcast series, they're always excited to hear from you. So make sure that you not only check out this podcast and send it to your friends and family, but send all the other ones also, because there is so many amazing women on the series that are talking about the shift. And we want to share that and collaborate and support as many people as we can. So thank you so much to my amazing guest, Amy. I loved having you on the program. And thank you to all of you guys. Remember to do something kind today. Until next time, everyone.
Thanks for listening. This show was brought to you by Divas That Care. Connect with us on Facebook, on Instagram, and of course on divasthatcare.com, where you can subscribe to our newsletter so you don't miss a thing.